Mother Jeanne des Anges, from possessed prioress to saint, a nun possessed by demons for 5 years, became a candidate for sainthood. Her own memoir tells the impossible story. Loudun, France, 1632. The Ursuline convent sits quiet in the morning light, its stone walls enclosing a community of women devoted to prayer and education. Inside these walls, something begins that will transform one woman's life into a journey through hell and back. A journey so extraordinary that the Catholic Church itself will eventually consider her for sainthood. Mother Jeanne des Anges serves as prioress of the convent. She is 32 years old, physically fragile, and by her own later admission, psychologically conflicted. She has never met Father Urbain Grandier personally, but she knows of him, the charismatic priest whose reputation fills the town. When he declines to serve as the convent's spiritual director, something shifts inside her. An obsession takes root. She thinks of him constantly, dreams of him. In the peculiar isolation of convent life, this unfulfilled fixation grows into something darker. The first symptoms appear suddenly. Jeanne contorts during prayer. Her body moves in ways that should not be possible. She speaks in voices that are not her own, deep, guttural, masculine voices that blaspheme and curse. Other nuns begin exhibiting similar symptoms. The convent descends into chaos. What starts as private spiritual struggle becomes public spectacle as word spreads throughout Loudun and beyond. The entities that speak through Jeanne identify themselves by name: Asmodeus, Issacharen. They claim to be demons of the highest order, sent to torment the holy women of Loudun. The manifestations escalate. Jeanne levitates during exorcism sessions. Her body contorts into impossible positions. Witnesses document her speaking languages she has never studied. The French royal court takes notice. Cardinal Richelieu himself orders observers sent to Loudun. Royal physicians examine Jeanne and the other afflicted nuns. They document symptoms that defy medical explanation. Contortions that should break bones leave no lasting injury. Voices that emerge from female throats possess timbres and ranges that seem physically impossible. The physicians can offer no natural explanation. The exorcisms become theatrical events. Thousands attend. The possessed nuns are brought forth to demonstrate their affliction before crowds of witnesses. Jeanne, as prioress and the most dramatically afflicted, becomes the centerpiece of these displays. The demons speaking through her make accusations. They name Father Grandier as the source of the possession. They claim he sent them through witchcraft to destroy the convent. The testimony of demons becomes evidence in an ecclesiastical court. Grandier is arrested, interrogated, tortured. The entities speaking through Jeanne provide specific details that contribute to building the case against him. In 1634, Grandier is convicted of witchcraft and burned alive in the town square. The possession that began in the private prayers of a troubled prioress has consumed an innocent man, yet the possessions do not end with Grandier's execution. Jeanne remains afflicted. The demons claim victory but do not depart. This is when Father Jean-Joseph Surin enters the story. Surin arrives in Loudun in 1634, specifically assigned to work with Mother Jeanne. He is a Jesuit priest of considerable spiritual depth and learning. His mission is clear: to deliver this woman from the demonic forces that have held her captive for 2 years. What follows becomes one of the strangest relationships in the history of Christian spiritual direction. Surin conducts hundreds of exorcism sessions with Jeanne. He prays over her for hours at a time. He fasts. He keeps vigils. He brings every resource of his training and faith to bear against the entities tormenting her. The exorcisms are brutal, exhausting spiritual combat. Asmodeus, the chief demon, proves resistant to all conventional approaches. The entity mocks Surin, challenges him, speaks through Jeanne with intimate knowledge of Surin's own spiritual struggles. Something begins to happen to Surin himself. He experiences symptoms similar to Jeanne's possession. Dark thoughts invade his prayer. He feels impulses towards self-destruction. His own writings from this period reveal a man under profound spiritual assault. By his own account, He has absorbed something of Jeanne's affliction into himself in the act of trying to heal her. The cost to Søren is catastrophic. He loses his ability to function as a priest. His mind fragments. For 20 years following his work with Jeanne, he lives in a state of spiritual and psychological torment that his contemporaries can only describe as a form of possession by proxy. He will eventually recover, but the price he pays for Jeanne's deliverance is measured in decades of his own suffering. Throughout these years of possession and exorcism, Jeanne does something remarkable. She writes letters, accounts, observations. Her intelligence remains acute even when the possessing entities speak through her body. She documents her own experience with a precision that makes her testimony unique in the literature of possession. She describes the sensation of being controlled by something outside herself. She articulates the psychological complexity of her obsession with grandeur. She admits her own complicity even while insisting on the reality of the possession. The lucid intervals between possessions allow her to reflect on what is happening to her. This self-awareness makes her case profoundly troubling to analyze. Where does Jeanne end and the demonic begin? Is the possession an expression of her psychological conflict, or is it an independent supernatural phenomenon that exploits her vulnerabilities? The layers are so complex that 4 centuries of scholars have failed to reach consensus. In 1637, 5 years after the possessions began, Jeanne experiences her deliverance. The exorcism that finally frees her is accompanied by phenomena that witnesses describe as miraculous. Names of saints appear written on her hand: Saint Joseph, Saint Francis de Sales. The words manifest as wounds in her flesh. Physicians examine them. The marks cannot be self-inflicted. They bear characteristics that suggest supernatural origin. The deliverance proves complete and permanent. Asmodeus and the other entities depart and do not return. Jeanne emerges from 5 years of torment fundamentally transformed. The woman who had been the central figure in one of history's most notorious possession cases begins the process of rebuilding her life. She goes on pilgrimage throughout France, displaying the marks on her hand to the faithful. Crowds gather wherever she travels. The woman once possessed by demons is now regarded as living proof of divine intervention. She returns to Loudun and resumes her duties as prioress. Her governance of the convent is marked by wisdom and compassion. Women seek her counsel. She is credited with performing healings of her own. The decades pass. Jeanne writes her memoir, a document of extraordinary psychological and spiritual depth, now preserved in the Bibliothèque Nationale de France. In it, she reflects on everything that happened: the obsession, the possession, the exorcisms, the recovery. She displays profound ambivalence about her role in Grandier's condemnation. She acknowledges the complexity of her own motivations while maintaining that the possession itself was real. The memoir reveals a woman of remarkable self-awareness, capable of holding multiple truths in tension without resolving them into simple explanation. By the time of her passing in 1665, 33 years after the possessions began, Jeanne des Anges is widely considered a woman of unusual holiness. The Catholic Church opens her cause for beatification. The institution that once displayed her possession as evidence of demonic activity now considers her a candidate for formal recognition as a blessed soul. The transformation is unprecedented. No other figure in the documented history of demonic possession travels this arc, from being the central subject of a major possession case to being considered for sainthood. Her journey raises questions that resist simple answers about the relationship between spiritual affliction and psychological complexity, about the possibility of redemption from the most degraded conditions, about the mysterious ways grace can work even through catastrophic spiritual failure. Father Søren eventually recovers his faculties and writes his own account of the Loudun possessions. His testimony corroborates Jeanne's while adding layers of theological reflection. Other investigators and observers leave detailed records. The French royal court maintains files on the case. The documentation is extensive, providing multiple perspectives on events that defy conventional explanation. What happened at Loudon remains controversial. Skeptics see psychological illness amplified by religious expectation and political manipulation. Believers see genuine demonic activity followed by authentic divine intervention. Jeanne herself seems to have believed both the possession and her own psychological complexity were real, that the supernatural and the psychological were interwoven in ways that could not be cleanly separated. Her legacy endures precisely because she resists categorization. She was neither simply mentally ill nor simply possessed. She was neither purely victim nor purely perpetrator in Grandier's condemnation. She was a woman of profound intelligence and equally profound spiritual struggle who experienced something extraordinary and spent the rest of her life trying to understand and articulate what it meant. The marks on her hand, verified by physicians, witnessed by thousands, remain unexplained by natural causes. The completeness of her recovery and the depth of her subsequent spiritual life suggest transformation beyond ordinary healing. The Catholic Church's consideration of her for beatification indicates institutional recognition that something genuinely holy emerged from the ruins of her possession. Mother Jeanne des Anges stands as one of the most fascinating figures in the entire history of the demonic. Her story offers no easy answers, but opens profound questions about the nature of possession, the possibilities of redemption, and the mysterious intersections of psychology, spirituality, and the supernatural. If you found this case compelling, subscribe to Vanishing Roads for more documented paranormal investigations from around the world. This story was created with AI assistance based on documented case files. All events reference real investigations and reported incidents.